All right, welcome to lesson 3.1, the very first lesson of unit 3 on sampling in surveys. In the previous two units, we kind of really worked with data, and now we want to kind of talk about how to get that data and why. So the first question we want to ask is, why do we collect data? Well, very simple. We want to learn something from a group of individuals. So why do we want data? Well, because we want to learn something. For example, how tall are trees in Cuyahoga Valley National Park? Maybe that's the answer we want to know. Got to collect data to figure it out. What type of trees are in Cuyahoga Valley National Park? Well, we're going to have to collect some data to figure that out. What are students' feelings towards school lunch? Love them? Hate them? Got to collect data to figure that out. Who is going to win the election for mayor of Cleveland this year? I don't know, man. Got to collect some data to figure that out. How big are fish in Lake Erie? Once again, I don't know. Got to collect some data to figure that out. So it's always important in any question to identify the population of interest. Who is your population of interest? All trees in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, all students at a certain high school, all residents of Cleveland, all fish in Lake Erie. Know your population. Now, when we talk about a population, we obviously need to also talk about a sample. Now, a population is the entire group of individuals we want to learn information about. So all the trees in the forest, all the residents of Cleveland, the population is the entire group of individuals, where a sample is a subset of individuals taken from the population that we actually collect data from. Now, there's two ways to collect data. One, we could do what's called a census. A census is collecting data from every one individual in the population, collecting data from everyone. And that's pretty difficult to do. Not impossible, but pretty difficult. If your population is really, really big, it's kind of hard to collect data from everybody. But if your population is small, like if the population that you're interested in is people that work for your company, and you have a very small company, maybe you only have 25 employees for your company, and it would be very easy to do a census. It'd be very simple for you to ask everybody in your company how tall they are, what their favorite coffee is, what they want to eat for lunch. Anything you want to know could be simple if you only have 25 people to collect data from. But typically we work with populations that are really big, and in that case we have to do what's called a sample survey. We don't have time to ask the entire population, which is a census. So a sample survey is an organized plan to choose a sample from the population that is representative of that population. Now, are samples okay? I mean, is it okay to only look at a sample as opposed to looking at a population? Well, yes, a sample isn't perfect, and it certainly won't match the population perfectly. Furthermore, different samples taken from the same population will most likely yield different results. For example, 13% of Americans are left-handed, but a sample of 200 people might show 15% are left-handed. The mean height of high school females is 64 inches, but a sample of 120 high school girls might show a mean of 63.2 inches. The point is that not all samples are perfect, and they do not necessarily mention or reflect the exact population value. This idea is called sampling variability. Samples will naturally vary from the population value and from other samples of the same size. So not only are no two samples the size, but no sample is going to reflect the exact same value taken from the entire population. This is not a bad thing. In fact, this is actually something that we expect. We just give a name to this called sampling variability. So how do we make sure we get a good sample? Randomly. All samples must be chosen randomly. So how to select a sample randomly? There's actually two ways we can do this. With technology, basically your calculator, or with a random number table. We never trust humans to pick a random sample. Even if they think they're being random, they could accidentally not. Now, the other way you could pick a random sample is with what I call the old names in a hat, right? You put everybody's name on a piece of paper and you dump it into a hat. Now, that doesn't necessarily work in the real world because there's things they're concerned about, like what if somebody's name on a piece of paper gets stuck in the sewing of a hat or gets stuck in the seam of a hat. Well, then all of a problem, then all of a sudden they never had a chance to be picked. So we'd like to stay away from that. We use two ways to pick data randomly: technology or a random number table. And we're going to demonstrate that right now with an example. So let's just say we have this group of 20 students. So 4 by 5 here, so 20 total students. Let's just say this is my population. I got 20 students, and I want to select a sample of 5 of them. How do I use my calculator for this? And then we'll show you how you use what's called a random number or a random table of numbers. Now, regardless of how you do it, the first step is always to number your values, number your people. So give everyone a unique number. Now, if you only have 10 people, you could use 0 through 9. But if you have more than 10 people, everybody has to use double-digit numbers. So I am going to use double-digit numbers, and there are 100 double-digit numbers, 00 to 99. Those are the double-digit numbers that are out there. Now, there are 100 of those because 01 to 99 is 99, and then you throw in the 00. Don't say 01 through 100 because now all of a sudden you have a whole lot of double-digit numbers, then you got a triple-digit number in 100. So 00 to 99 would be 100 different numbers. So I'm going to give everybody a unique number. So let's see here. Mike gets 01, Jay 02, Michelle 03, Caleb 04, Dave 05, Lexi 06, Andrea 07, and how you do this, by the way, does not matter. You could go around and do this like randomly, like literally, you know, just totally random who gets what number. Or you could go long ways by column, by row. It really does not matter as long as everybody has a different random number. There we go. I don't even have to use 01 through 20. I could have done 31 through whatever. I mean, the point is everybody needs a different, unique number. Now I'm going to bring in my calculator here. Now, our calculator has this cool feature, and it's under Math. If I hit the Math button on the left-hand side, and then scroll at the top over to PRB, that stands for probability. Now, we have a couple features here, and I'm going to show you 2 features that I actually like. The first one is rand. Now, once you bring rand up the screen, you literally can get any random number you want. However, some people's random numbers are actually not random. They're very similar. So what we like to do here is, well, I scrolled up too far there, is we like to do what's called seeding. So just do like to, store, and then I'm going to go math, and then random integer. Now, basically what this is going to do is it's going to just kind of like start you off. It's just going to make random kind of general. And you could do anything. You could do 78, store, and all this is like just like getting everybody to have a different starting point. Okay? Now when I go math and I go rand, everybody should have a different number popping up. Now the point is, all I'm trying to do is get some numbers on the screen. That's all I'm trying to do is get numbers on the screen, right? Keep hitting enter as much as you want, but I just need numbers. Now, I'm just going to use the numbers that I see here. So basically, I see a 24. Ignore the decimal point. I see a 24. So person 24, you get picked. Oh, well, there is no person 24. So I have to make sure I mention to ignore numbers outside my range. 49, no 49. 17, person 17. Congratulations, you are picked. Person 17 is Kyle. Kyle, come on down. You were the first random person picked. 76, ignore 11. Person number 11, Beverly, you are picked. So that is one way to do it. And you just literally keep going. If you need more random numbers, keep hitting enter. You just keep getting more random numbers. When you do that, though, you have to add a couple steps. Ignore numbers outside your range. Now it seems silly, like duh, I know that, but you have to say it. And the third thing it is you have to ignore repeats because I am picking 5 different people. So sorry, Kyle, you can't be picked again. So if 17 comes up again, I do have to ignore it. And then you will stop once there are 5 different numbers. Now, that's a pretty simple way to do it. Again, that's math, and then go to probability and do rand. But if I scroll down to random integer, this is actually even better. Random integer will actually choose a random integer in a specific range. So if I go 1, 20, what's going to happen here is it's going to save me from having to ignore repeats. I'm sorry, from ignoring numbers outside my range. This is only going to give me random numbers between 1 and 20. So, congratulations, person number 5. Dave, you're picked. Congratulations, number 19. Zach, you are picked. Person number 20, Kaylee, you're picked. Person 14, Toby, you're picked. And 17, congratulations, Kyle, you picked. Now, you still have to ignore repeats here because if anybody's number comes up twice, you have to ignore them. But using random integers is a nice way to pinpoint the range of the numbers that you use, like I did 1 through 20 there. So, when you're going through this process, you have to make sure that you, 1, give everybody a number. And you got to tell me that as well. You got to write down your steps. Step 2, ignore numbers that are outside your range. Step 3, ignore any repeats because the same person cannot be picked twice. And then you're going to stop once you get your people. And then you would actually write down their names. So I'd actually recommend writing down their names so that way you see that you did pick those 5 people completely randomly. All right, last one here is how to use a random number table. Now, random number table is literally that. It's just a table like this of random numbers, just numbers. Who cares the order, just a bunch of numbers. So if I'm going to use this to pick them, I'm going to give everybody a number again. And this time I'm going to give everybody a number going by the rows here, just to show that it doesn't really matter. And I do have to make sure, if you're using a random number table, you have to make sure that everybody gets a double-digit number. If you have over 100 people, then you need triple-digit numbers. If you have over 1,000 people, then you need double-digit numbers. Now, again, you could snake through this. You could go by columns. It doesn't matter as long as everybody has a different number. We could all be using a different numbering system, but it doesn't matter as long as everybody has a different number. I could even give out weird numbers, like Mike could be 99, Jay could be 24, Michelle could be 76. It doesn't matter as long as everybody has their own unique number. Now, I do have to make sure that we ignore repeats. So I'm going to say that down, ignore repeats. And we have to make sure we say to ignore numbers outside of our range. Now, some people don't like using random number tables. They prefer the calculator, but they are used. So we got to teach it to you. Ignore numbers outside of our range. Okay, so here we go. 36, nobody has it. Cross it out. 51, nobody has it. Now I'm actually going to ignore this gap right here. 83, nobody has it. 67, nobody has it. 77, nobody has it. So you start to realize why using random number tables gets kind of old, because sometimes it takes a while, but let's do it anyway. 89, ignore it. All right, congratulations. Person number 11, Michelle. You have randomly been picked. All right. 60, ignore. 55, ignore. 42, ignore. 29, ignore. 70, ignore. 58, ignore. 37, 75, 21, ignore. 56, 48, 16. Congratulations, Caleb. You have been picked. And you just literally keep repeating this. 39, ignore. 27, ignore. 97, ignore. 36, ignore. 24, ignore. 13, congratulations, 13 is Beverly. And this is how you pick samples completely and utterly random. 17, Andrew. Congratulations, Andrew. You have been picked. And 57, 88. Look at this. 1, 4. I'm going to go down. 1, 4. I'm going to skip the row. I'm going to skip the gap. Just keep going with the numbers. 1, 4 is the next number there. So that would be, let's see here. 14 was Bill. So all right, I have now picked my 5 people. Everybody had a chance. It was completely random number table. You could start anywhere you want. Like I started at the very beginning. I could have started down here on this row right here at the 41. I could have closed my eyes and picked right here to start. It doesn't matter. And the cool thing about a random number table is if you need triple digits, then you just look at 3 digits. If you need 4 digits, you look at 4. If you need 5, you look at 5. It doesn't matter. It's completely random, but it's a really nice, simple way to do it. The only point is, though, like I said, you have to ignore a lot of repeats, and you also have to be careful to ignore numbers outside your range. But everybody got a number. And I used a random number table to go through and collect my data. Now that is how you get a random sample. So it's pretty nice and simple. So the whole point of this first video is just to talk about, we want to collect data, and we could collect data from everybody. That'd be a census, that'd be a population, or sometimes we don't have time for that, so we just select a sample of people. And that sample is going to vary a little bit. That sample is not going to be perfect. It's not going to match the population, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. That's one of the issues with samples, and we'll address it. But you have to make sure that when you go and select a sample, you select it randomly.